We're going over Iweret. She's the best damage dealer in the game, and they just made her even stronger. 15 days ago in the patch, they made her so much better. We're going to go over those changes. We're going to talk about the flame relic that you can get for her. Her flame relic is basically free right now in this event shop. You've got some time to go over and get this. It's very easy to go through these stages and get the currency you need to unlock this flame relic. Now that I have her flame relic, so I can switch from frost to flame whenever I want, wherever it makes sense, I'm using it all the time. If you guys aren't playing King Arthur Legends Rise, download it with the links below. Come and join us on Discord. There's written guides, video guides. We are there to help you day and night. Come and play it with players that love it as much as you will. We'll go over the flame relic in a minute and talk about how strong that is. But let's talk about all the changes they did to her 15 days ago. She was already top DPS on this skill 3 in the frost relic that she summons to you as. But she wasn't always consistent. It was kind of hard to play this because we had to have markup, we had to have effect accuracy to apply this mark, and they've changed that so we don't have to have effect accuracy, that they cannot be resisted. We get to zone in and apply these 2 marks on the enemy, and then when she attacks the enemy, we have that mark available for her to do this additional damage of 150%. With mark applied, doing additional damage. Now, we used to have to crit. Now we don't even have to crit when we attack the enemy to proc this. Before it read, do additional damage if you crit hit and if the enemy has mark. And you had to have effect accuracy on a hero that's doing a lot of damage, which didn't make a lot of sense. Now we don't have to have that any longer. It's irresistible. We're going to apply mark as soon as we come in. And on this passive used to be a 2-turn passive. Now we get it for 3 turns. We're doing critical strike damage of 30%, hit accuracy of 20%. So they increased the number of turns we have, which is great because we need it when we attack over here. Black Magic Overlord, if it's off cooldown and you have Black Magic's Wrath, you're going to take another turn and you're going to do an insane amount of additional damage. This is a big AoE hit. It hits one target for 100% and then everyone for 120% and additional damage if they have mark on. This is where all this crazy damage from her is coming from. It's just so much additional damage, giving herself additional crit rate here, along with other serpent favors. With all these multipliers, it makes her just crazy. And now I can use her in other areas to do even more AoE damage. That hit we were just talking about, that skill 3, which takes 3 vigor, is a single target attack. Of course, we proc that Black Magic's Wrath after we do that single target attack. But now, with the Flame Relic that we get from the event, we can do a big AoE attack. And they take additional damage if mark's on, which we're going to throw up that mark right when we zone in. And it's just a really nice, big hit. AoE damage. But then if you want single target damage, we've got that too. This single target damage does 180% of attack and gives you a critical strike increase of 90%. Additional critical strike damage of 90%, plus more crit rate, another 40% additional crit rate for 1 turn, and it applies mark. Now with this mark, you do need effect accuracy. So this mark isn't always going to be applied, but we don't need a mark to do additional damage. We're already doing additional damage with 90% additional critical strike rate and then 40% crit rate to make sure that we crit to take advantage of that critical strike damage. And it's only 180%. But I would bet that this is the same amount of damage as Bedivere. Now, Bedivere was the highest damage dealer for 2 vigor cost ability, the second ability. 140% attack. If we crit, we get 168 extra, but we get crit rate right when we attack of 40% before we do damage. So it's easier to crit, easier to get all this damage. Now we're doing 180%. We're not getting that additional 130 or so that he's getting of attack, but we're getting 90% additional critical strike damage. So I don't know if this is more or about the same. I feel like it's going to be more because when you talk about critical strike damage, that's a lot of additional damage. Although 130% of attack is going to be a lot as well. So now I feel like we have somebody that's on par with what Bedivere can do with a 2 vigor cost single target ability, which makes it so much fun to be able to play Iweret anywhere I need. Because if you have the advantage in the element, if I'm going fire up against storm, red against green, I do 30% additional damage. So now I can bring her in anywhere and I can do AoE single target right here, and then of course AoE with the passive. I can do massive AoE here, and then again AoE with the passive, and I can do single target damage with all this additional critical strike, which this critical strike damage, when you watch the video, it stays on for when Iweret procs that passive ability to do a single target hit and then another big AoE barrage. So that big AoE additional hit that we're getting from this passive right here has that 90% additional critical strike damage. It's a lot of damage, and she is so much fun to play. Long story short, get that relic from the event. Get it for Iweret so you'll be able to play whichever relic makes sense for you, because she is, without a doubt, the hardest hitting hero that we have. With the event just starting, we've got this brand new dungeon that just opened. This is permanent new content that we can use that flame relic on to get the 30% additional damage, and we need a lot of AoE damage. So we're going to bring Iweret in with the flame relic. We've got Iweret queued up to do skill 3 and skill 2, I think. No, just skill 3. Actually, we'll change it. We'll do skill 3 if we have 3 vigor, skill 2 if we have 2 vigor, and then we'll go skill 1 if we don't have any vigor available, and we'll be fine, because if she does do skill 2, that's skill 3. That's an AoE, followed up by Black Magic's Wrath, and everything's dead. I mean, a lot of damage. AoE damage on this flame relic, and again, single target damage if we use that skill 2, but we don't want to use skill 2. On this new dungeon, we want AoE damage. And we get enough here if we can keep everybody alive. Morgan almost died. That was pretty bad. This is hard. This is brand new content, and we've got a lot of new gear sets in here to get. More powerful gear sets. Gear sets that I don't even have equipped on my heroes yet. There's a 2-piece set to give that hero shields based off of 250% attack of their attack. It's a huge shield on somebody like Iweret, which I should put it on. Iweret, I might even put it on somebody like, I mean, I could put it on Morgan to go through this dungeon. It would still give Morgan quite a nice shield to start off with. It's only right when you zone in and for 2 turns. It's kind of more toward PvP, I would think, to put that on, but it can save you in an instance like this. And then we've got a new 4-piece gear set that gives us 50% additional attack. And that's going to really help you in this dungeon. The older gear set gives us 30% additional attack for a 4-piece set, but the new one, 50% additional attack, but every time we attack, we lose 10% of our max HP. So we can kill ourselves with it, but with that additional damage, it'll make this much faster if we have a team that can survive. And the thing with this dungeon is you got to kill the ads. The ads, every time they die, they do damage to the boss. Now, we can do damage to the boss, but the boss doesn't take that much damage. It's got all these buffs up here to make sure that we're not doing a crazy amount of damage to it. Did Iweret do skill 2 yet? Not yet. I think that was just a skill 1. And Iweret, she's silenced right now. So she's only going to be able to do her skill 1. But she's the one bringing in all the damage for this team. If she actually dies on this run, I'm going to have to start over. We've got Lancelot putting up dots. Anytime we have a dot on the Harpies, they take 40% additional damage. So that makes Iweret hit even harder, obviously. And Lancelot with the dots still does really good damage. Look at that. Look at that. We have the Strife set on too. A Strife set is the keepsake set, the 3-piece set that whenever we kill someone, we take an additional turn and heal. And that's what you saw a minute ago. You saw Iweret do a big old hit, kill somebody, probably do the Black Magic's Wrath for that additional hit, and then we procced the Strife set and took another turn. I think that was skill 1, skill 2. I can't tell if we're doing skill 2 or not. And there's our proc, and the boss should be dead after this. So everyone, go out there and get Iweret's Flame Relic from the shop. It doesn't matter if you're free to play, low spender, or a whale, you're able to get that relic. If you have any questions, join us over on Discord. And if you're not playing King Arthur Legends Rise, download it with the links below and come and join us. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you all in a video soon.